You're in the show. Honey, it looks like you're muted.
Oh my God.
There
You
you
were
are.
sitting there this whole time just talking, saying my hellos, and I was muted.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Good morning, Detroit. Good morning, Allie's nurse. Miss Trisha, Joanne Born to Sparkle. Good morning. How is everybody today? Hey, Eric. How are you? Oh, Miss Leah, how are you? How are you this morning, Brandon?
Good. Doing well. It's as you know, pretty crazy here with all the snow, so I'm just trying to maneuver.
Hey, Jeannie. Gone girl, gone girl. Good morning. Hey, Shannon Uncensored. Yeah, I cannot believe you went out this morning. Actually, you
There's
how
all
it's
there's
like what
always
6 inches
reminders.
out there.
Yeah, I think about 6 inches. It's a good reminder that I'm addicted to cigarettes. You
Right.
know, when you hit the brakes and the car doesn't stop all the way and just kind of like slides a little bit. Yeah, it's a good reminder.
Congratulations, Deborah. 13 years is amazing. I hope I see 13 years of sobriety. Hey, teacher mom. So, Mr. Brandon, I think Brandon and I wanted to talk about a few things. I'd like to get his perspective um, on a few things. Let me see if I can find it. And what I'm talking about is my community post that I made. Um, what's your thoughts on that community post, Brandon? Hey, Blue Sugar, I love you.
You're talking about that
And
meme that says that, you
yes,
know,
let me read it. It
okay.
says cannabis isn't a gateway drug. Alcohol isn't a gateway drug. Nicotine is not a gateway drug. Caffeine is not a gateway drug. Trauma is the gateway. Childhood abuse is the gateway. Molestation is the gateway. Neglect is the gateway. Drug abuse, violent behavior, hypersexuality, and self harm are often symptoms but not the cause of a much bigger issue, and almost always stems from a childhood filled with trauma, absent parents, and abusive family. But most people are too busy laughing at the homeless and drug addicts to realize your own children could be in their shoes in 15 years.
Yeah. So the deal is that, and it's not true for everybody, but I think it's true for most. I know I was born in '85, so I'm a little kid in the '90s, and going to school and getting the like going to DARE program or
Hey,
getting
Amanda.
the information that drugs are bad is when I was a kid. It seemed like they were trying to really hammer to us that if you smoke weed, you'll do heroin.
Yeah.
Now, that's not true for most people. Most people, experiment with different chemicals. They never end up trying heroin or crack or whatever. There are certain people, like for myself, is marijuana a gateway? Probably. I think with marijuana and alcohol specifically, like with alcohol for me, my parents
See, no,
drank.
look, I don't think that marijuana is a gateway. Do
Well,
you really think that?
hold on. Let me try to get the full thought out. So it's a gateway in the sense that I was interested in hard. It made me more interested in different substances because like everybody smokes weed. Like that's how I looked at the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I didn't realize and learn till later was all the drugs are just a symptom.
Big
So
hugs to you, Angel Eyes.
call it a gateway, not a gateway. I don't know. I think saying that trauma, um, you know, being emotionally sensitive, all that stuff, I would say that's a much bigger gateway than what drugs
Mm-hmm.
can be for people. But I know plenty of people that I know people that shot heroin that didn't like it, which is really, or they didn't like that they puked or didn't like how they felt about it or they felt guilty. They never did it ever again.
Right.
Those people do exist. at the end of the day, it depends on, I think, what the individual believes in terms of the actual disease concept.
Come
And
on, Miranda.
I know specific to the United States, specific to a lot of people I met, were programmed to kind of believe the opposite, that it's not a disease. It's ultimately about willpower and I'll just quit, I just go to rehab and stop,
It's a brain disorder.
And we've known that for a long time.
Yes.
I mean, just in the last, 10 years, the American Medical Association put out another paragraph stating addiction is a disease that centers in the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Too often we look at the symptom, which is the drug use. We don't look at the bigger picture, the greater thing that is not being able to handle reality. Ultimately, that's what drove me to drugs. And my reality wasn't that bad. I didn't know that at the time. The best way I've heard it explained, and it's very true for me, is I'm a lot better today, but as a child and maybe teenage years, I didn't have much emotional insulation. Somebody could look at me a certain way and I would get upset. I can remember times in my life where I would maybe there was a girl I liked and I would try to talk to her and it didn't go well. I would lay in bed for weeks at night thinking, why did I say that? And obsess over it. I should have said that. I should have said this. All of those things, just my thinking was so effed up and screwed up. Drugs and alcohol took that away. I didn't have to think. I didn't have to ponder. And I didn't think about anything. And I loved that. I like anything that makes my mind slow down or stop even. Only certain things do it.
See, yesterday, Tracy called me out saying that post and that meme was about her. And that couldn't be further from the truth. I did not post that for her or about her. I'm not a shallow person like that. When it comes to addiction and recovery, that means the world to me. Why would I throw that in someone's face? Has anybody ever known me to do that? No. I take it seriously. I'm going to play a clip here in a few minutes that really bothered me. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and play it now. I'm pretty much hated right now by a lot of people, so why not? This has bothered me for days. And Brandon, I want you to hear this because I want your input on it.
Okay.
And I don't want to be cruel here, but it's always the victim. The manipulation of a junkie never goes away. You can stop being a junkie, but the manipulation that you've learned becoming one and ripping your friends up and throwing them under the fucking bus never goes away, even when you are sober and clean for fucking 10 years. I know that for a fact. And I know I'm not being fucking cruel to anyone, but the whole junkie addiction, who said what thing is pretty fucking old for me, all right? You're not that special. In Australia, you go to rehab, you get over it, you move on. You don't fucking 6 years later say, I'm still in recovery.
Boy, I wish it was that easy.
You fucking, I don't get it. And I'm sorry. But it's no different. I get called a drunk every fucking day. So I'm just being honest. I'm just being honest, guys. And love it or hate what I say. It's just me. And I hold no animosity towards anyone. But for me, that's the way. I don't give a fuck if someone calls someone a junkie, because no one gives a fuck when people call me a drunk. And to me, there's no fucking difference.
So what she's basically saying is that when you go to rehab, when you come out, you're just magically cured. You're not a junkie anymore. And that when you get out of rehab 6 years later, you're still manipulative. You got that the manipulation still in you because you was a junkie. And that's not true at all. Maybe that's her experience, but that's not true at all. When you go into recovery, you make a complete life change. I was very insulted by her saying that, and it's weighed on my mind for days. When people called her a drunk, I was the one that went to bat and would say, quit calling her a drunk. That's not very nice. sweet Melissa, you're right. Everyone's recovery is different. But just because someone is a quote unquote junkie does not mean that they continue with those same habits once they learn a new lifestyle or once they get sober.
Well, they can't. I mean, if you don't change the behavior,
Good morning,
you'll go
children.
back to the dope. That's just a matter of fact that we've seen, and definitely in my experience, and a lot of other people's experience. I don't like to speak for other people, but that's a simple one. If the behavior doesn't change, we'll go back to which creates the behavior or treats the behavior.
Absolutely.
Drugs and alcohol treated that behavior for me. When I was using, I manipulated until I got high. Then I have to manipulate anymore because I was high. Or not even high, I was just well. I didn't have to manipulate anymore. I just smoked cigarettes and be a drooling pig.
Yeah.
6 years sober, 10 years sober, I can tell you that if those behaviors don't change, people typically end up drinking or using again. I can't, like you said, I can't speak for her. Her experience would be totally different. I think she said Australia. Maybe that's how it is out there. The only person I know from Australia in recovery, I don't know them well enough to know if there's a difference. But the best I can tell, this is a person who goes to 12-step meetings regularly. So that's a behavior change. They're still going to meetings. They're still have a sponsor. They work steps, those kind of things.
It's a complete life change. And I'm not trying to, fight with Wendy V or anything. I was simply in her chat and she snapped at me, and that, I don't get upset when people say the word junkie. Just like she doesn't get upset that someone calls her drunk. It was a part of my life for a long time. And I still like to talk about it to kind of give me a reminder of what my life was like and to hopefully never go back to that. Talking about it helps. People don't just go into a rehab and they're just magically cured. People continue going to meetings. They continue being in a recovery program, whatever that may be.
Yeah, if it was possible to go to rehab one time and be cured, rehabs probably wouldn't exist. They make their money, they continue their business on people coming back to treatment. It is what it is. It's unfortunate, but that's just how things are.
Right.
I personally have been to treatment 5 times. A lot of the people I know have been 5, 10, a bunch of times. I got a cousin who's been like 15 times. I met a person who's since passed on who had been to rehab over 40 times. Treatment centers don't turn out winners. In fact, their statistics are as awful as you can imagine. That's the battle of addiction. It's not about the treatment center. It's just the fact of the matter that people go to rehab, they're feeling better. Maybe they were medically detoxed. Maybe they're on medication to help, and they're feeling good, usually. Maybe they're going to a group and treatment while they're in there, and they're talking about their feelings and their childhood. And, oh, boy, they're going to do it. They're going to get out and get a sponsor and work the steps and do all this stuff. And then they get out of treatment, and they're like, I don't want to do that. I just need a good job. I just need a girlfriend. I just need, those are my problems.
Yeah, Serenity here says there are drunks who are living on the edge of relapse at any moment.
Oh, yeah. Dry
drunks. Yeah.
It's common. It's very common. People.
Good morning, Kathy Rebuilds.
Go to a meeting or they go to their treatment, their therapy, and something happens to where they don't go back. And they just try to, what we call white knuckle sobriety, just hold on as tight as you can and don't drink.
Yeah.
I'm sad to say that I've seen a number of people with 30 and 40 years blow their brains out.
Hold on.
Okay.
Boy Fairy, 1990. Thank you. I appreciate that. Hey, G4. It's been a long time.
I saw that, G4. Yeah, I
did see that. Oh my gosh. How cool is that G4 is here right now?
He just stopped by to say that Between the Bearing Meads is his favorite band and all that. But yeah, I did see that. Sounded like he was addicted to benzodiazepine. I saw the video he put out when he was really struggling, man, and that was hard to watch. It was hard to watch someone who, man, it's about life or death for that guy, and I hope he finds recovery. But yeah, it's good to see you, G4, brother.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I hope you're doing well, G4. That's our buddy from back in the day.
Yeah.
It's good to see him.
Absolutely.
But, you know, I don't want to start a fight with Tracy over this, but that really hurt my feelings that I'm here to say that not everything is about you, Tracy. Okay. That community post that I made with that meme on it had nothing to do with you at all. I seen a friend of Brandon and mine. He had posted that on Facebook. And I was like, wow, that is so true. I can't tell you how many times when I was younger, you know, I couldn't live with my brain. Like I couldn't live with the thoughts that were going through my brain. And I found something that numbed it. I didn't know any other way. I had to numb it because it was driving me crazy.
Yeah. And that's how often, you know, especially these days, somebody's got some trauma from their past, childhood, teenage years, whatever, a death in the family, molestation, abuse of some sort. They go to therapy, they go to a family doctor, they say, hey, here's what I've going on. And they prescribe a pill. And sometimes that really helps the person. But some of us get the pill and they're like, can I snort this? Can I break this down with water and shit? You know, we're addicted, you know, in that sense, the pill isn't always the solution. It adds to the symptoms. It's a quick fix. It doesn't deal with the actual problem. It just deals with the symptom. That's why when those doctors prescribe those pills, they say you also have to go to, you know, therapy or a counselor, whatever. You know, I love that meme. I had never heard it put that way. And I think that's a good way to put it. Like I said, for me in particular, yeah, maybe marijuana was a gateway, but it was just a gateway to further symptoms. It wasn't I didn't just smoke weed when I was 11 years old and the next weekend I was shooting heroin. There was a progression there. You know, it took years and years of experiment with different chemicals and finding out what I liked. When I was 15, 16 years old, I took, I think it was 4 or 5 regular Vicodin and my life changed. Oh, I mean, I was alive.
You know, Sarah, I really don't know what made her think that was about her. I have no idea. That boggles my mind, and that's why it bothers me so much. You know, Brandon and I have both tried to help Tracy with some of the problems she has. There's no way in hell I would ever try to rub that into her face. I would never do that, especially when it comes to addiction.
No, I would help her right now. Nothing's changed there. And it's really not, I really don't know the full story on that. I've just heard bits and pieces of it. The only big thing that I can say is that my ultimate goal and deal every day is just to say to people that there was a time in my life where all I thought about, all I lived for was drugs. I had no desire for anything else. I didn't care about a girlfriend or a job or my parents, siblings. I did not care. I cared about getting one more fix, one more shot, one more pill, and enough alcohol to go to sleep.
And for her to come at me and say, oh, so you don't think addiction is a disease? Why would you even ask me that, Tracy? You already know how I feel about it. Why would you even ask me that? Why would you even put that out there in the universe? I definitely think it's a disease. And I also think there can be some hereditary tendencies to it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Up in the chat, I can't scroll back up, but Sweet Melissa asked, what is a dry drunk? A dry drunk is someone that doesn't drink anymore, that still maintains the same behaviors, I guess.
And also isn't really working a program of any sort.
Yeah.
A dry drunk is someone who they're sober, they're not consuming alcohol, but they've not dealt with the mental and spiritual portion of their program. So the deal is, in terms of what I believe, is you have 3 points. You have the physical, mental, and the spiritual. The physical is just not using, not drinking. Jail and rehabs provide that. Don't get me wrong. There's plenty of drugs and booze in jails and in rehabs. It happens. But most people are trying to stay sober. And if you deal with the physical, that's cool. but you've still got two other things to deal with, and that's the spiritual and the mental. And through the 12 steps, therapy, a relationship with a higher power, maybe talking with your kids, volunteering, all these other things are to help me to heal the wounds that exist within me mentally and spiritually. Because those wounds, if not dealt with, I'll go back to drinking and using.
Yeah, and going back to what Wendy V said, the girl from Australia, Brandon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's been 6 years since I've touched heroin, and it's been 5 years since I've touched Xanax. I have struggled lately. I might have even slipped. So it's not like you go to rehab and then you're just magically cured. That's not how it works. Here I am 5, 6 years later, and I'm still struggling. And I do work a program, you know, but I think depression seeps in, and it makes it hard. You know, I'm going to struggle with this till the day I die. And hopefully that's going to be when I'm old. But it's not like you just go to rehab and you're automatically cured.
No.
It's something that we're going to live with for the rest of our lives.
We are all one bad decision away from the funeral home. All of us. I don't care how long you're clean. I don't care how long you're sober. I don't care how many meetings you go to. I've seen it. I've watched it happen to people. I've watched people with 10, 15, 20 years. I mean, going to meetings, sponsoring people, but there was a part of their program they quit doing. I don't know what. You'd have to ask them. But because they quit doing this or that, because they hadn't healed the wounds of their childhood, maybe of a previous marriage, maybe of a previous life. By not healing those wounds, they went back to what they know works. And like I said earlier, there are people I've seen with 30 and 40 years where alcohol's not on the table anymore. It is no longer an option. But we have to kill the noise. We got to get the voices in our head to stop. The voices that say I'm a loser. The voice in my head that says I'm pathetic. I'll never be anything. Why waste people's time? All those voices. We'll find a way to stop the noise. Hopefully it's through prayer, meditation, working with newcomers. That's the idea. But that's not always how it works. Too often people decide to pick up, whether it's a bottle, a pill bottle, or a whiskey bottle. You know, it depends on the person. But
CCK, you're so right. People commit suicide sober more than people realize. You know, I watched my mom do that. I watched her kill herself, you know, because she couldn't handle it. She didn't know where to go. She had been into rehab after rehab, and she was dealing with depression, and then, you know, she ended it. And I fight and struggle every day not to be like her, not to be like that. And, you know, for me, talking about it, it helps. And I'm sorry if some people don't realize that I like to talk about recovery. I like to talk about things that have happened in my past because it helps me, and hopefully it can help someone else. You know, I'm not that knowledgeable like Brandon is, but I like bringing Brandon on because he has so much to offer, way more than I ever could.
you've got plenty to offer. You're offering it right now. You're offering what staying clean's like.
Hey,
no
Rachel,
matter
I
how
love
long
you,
you're
lady.
sober.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not that I'm crying just because of this. I'm crying because there was a friendship that's not there anymore, you know? That still hurts.
Yeah.
I don't care who's right or who's wrong. That friendship is done, and that's bothered me for the past few weeks too.
It doesn't have to be. You
Well,
know?
I'm kind of stubborn.
What?
And that really hurt yesterday. It really hurt that she would say that that community post was about her. It wasn't. And then I have people going live that I thought were my friends, right? They go live talking about something I said in my Discord. They like blew this up and made it such a big deal. Oh my God, this shit's petty. Stop taking things out of people's Discords, okay?
Oh, that's always going to happen. That'll never stop.
It's okay, Detroit. I'm a little emotional. I'm emotional all the time. I cry all the time. Ask my husband.
What?
Did I not? I threw a fit. What was it the other day with the French fries?
She's a little upset. She's a little upset.
They forgot my French fries.
She was not happy over some French fries, y'all.
Brandon had to go back up there and get me some French fries.
You'd have thought the employees at McDonald's set our house on fire.
It wasn't that bad.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad. Yeah, sure. Yeah. It was bad enough. But that's how you were feeling in the moment, you know. It's our action and reaction to life sober is difficult, and it's hard to get a grasp on it.
Big hugs to you, Shauna.
Keep a grasp on it all the time, you know. And it takes a lot of years to find that level of patience and acceptance in situations.
You know, and I get so sick when people say that junkies are trash, or if you're an addict, you're trash. That's not true at all. You know, people buy houses after they get sober. People become productive members of society. People go a long way after they get sober. They are not trash. I'm so tired of hearing people label us as trash.
Well, that's easy because it's easy. People
Hey, Peachy King.
hear the word junkie and imagine some guy on a bridge with a trench coat on, you know, drinking out of a brown paper bag or, you know, stealing out of people's houses and eating out of dumpsters. For some people, that's part of their story. I never had a trench coat, but I've drank out of some brown paper bags. I've hung out under the bridge. I've hung out at the homeless shelter. I've lived there, you know, but I've also smoked crack and manned our homes.
Yeah.
You know, I have. I lived in a house that had an elevator in it, smoking crack. So, I mean, the deal is that it doesn't matter, you know, all that doesn't matter. And in all honesty, the best life lessons, the kindest, most caring people I ever met were junkies and drunks. The biggest hearts in the world.
Absolutely. Because they've lived a life of pain. Maybe not every addict.
Most. There's some sort of pain there. And sometimes it's self-imposed. You know, we impose the pain because we don't know any better. You know, look at some of the relationships we have. Look at some of the times I left a job because someone looked at me wrong. Or whatever. You know, sometimes my pain is I choose it. Because it's being restored to a normal condition.
Right. And like you were saying, Brandon, there's people that try heroin one time, get sick, and never want to touch it again.
Yeah, or Oxycontin. You know, I had one of my best friends from high school, man. We did it's just my buddy from high school that we did everything together. He lived literally 5 minutes walking from me. We just grew up together, and we did most drugs together for the first time or whatever. And I'll never forget it. He snorted some heroin and immediately went and puked and never did it ever again. Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God, because like a lot of us that we ran with back then, not everybody's alive today.
You're so right, teacher's mom. Addiction does not discriminate. It doesn't at all. You know, it might skip this person or that person, but the ones that actually become addicted, man, they don't want to be addicted. It's not like they said, oh, hey, I'm here. I want to be an addict. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, the best way I can explain it, and I'll try to have this make sense. There was a movie from the 90s called Twister. You remember that movie? About a tornado and all that.
Oh, definitely.
And there's a scene in the movie where Helen Hunt is explaining to what's his name, because when she was a little girl, a tornado destroyed her house and killed her dad. And when I was a little kid, I grew up in a big house with a pool and an intercom system, and my parents bought brand new cars every couple of years. That's just how I grew up. And she says to him, she says, you don't know what it's like. You don't know what it's like to watch the tornado skip every house in the neighborhood and come straight for yours. And when I look at the household I grew up in, my dad was absolutely alcoholic addict and had major, major issues in his life due to alcohol and drugs. I as well went down that path. You know, it destroyed my family Now, through recovery, my family got reunited, and I could talk an hour just on that. But, that's one story. That's one family. How many families across the country, how many families this morning are waking up to a family member passed on due to drugs and alcohol? How many moms right now don't know where one of their children are? Don't know where they are. Could be anywhere. Don't know if they're alive or dead, and they have to sit there and wonder and worry. My mom told me one time that she wishes there was a time where she knew I died, and she wished they would just come tell her so she could quit worrying. I did that to her. Drugs didn't do that to her. I did that. She experienced a worry and a wonder that's beyond anything I may never know what I did to her. I've done everything I can to make that right. And sometimes I can do a better job of texting and calling. She's in that thing now where she wants to text. She's like finally learned how to text. So she sends me these long texts and I text her back. But, this is a disease. And the main components of the disease are a physical allergy and a mental obsession. So I don't drink or use anymore. The physical allergy is gone. I'm not triggered this morning. I'm not thinking about where I can get booze or dope from. But the mental part is the real game. That's the real ball game. That's the Super Bowl. How are you going to deal with the mental? And hopefully through treating the mental, whether it's through therapy, the 12 steps, treatment, whatever, a combination of all of those things, eventually you can also find a spiritual path. What'd you say, honey?
I said hey to Miss Shannon in the
gotcha.
chat. She's a gem. You are so right with everything you just said. And I appreciate you so much, Brandon, for, being my partner in crime and kind of helping me explain things better.
Well, every Kurt has a Courtney.
Yeah. I'm not great at explaining things sometimes. I don't know. Sometimes I forget easy. And I think it has to do with, I flipped a car or two or three, whatever, and I had some brain trauma. So my brain doesn't always function the way I want it to.
Yeah.
I still have vertigo from it, and it sucks. Like I'll be in mid-sentence and I can't finish. That happens a lot. And that's why I never wanted to do lives or go live, because I didn't want people seeing that or hearing that in me, because, I'm kind of insecure about it. But I don't know.
That's really honest to you.
Yeah.
It is,
I had 10 staples in my head that day and then one right in between my eyes. And I had to go through a lot of therapy. I couldn't write for a while, and I couldn't say certain words. So I had to go through therapy, and I'm kind of insecure about it. I don't really talk about that often.
So grateful you made it through.
Yeah. So am I. I did a lot of damage when I was using drugs. I can't count how much money I went through. It's an unbelievable amount of money,
Oh yeah.
When General Motors went under, I got a buyout, and I walked out of there with $100,000. I think in the first month I blew 20 of that, 20 grand on drugs.
It's impressive. Some rock star shit.
Yeah. And I always used to make fun of myself, because I'd say, well, my grandparents pulled a Britney Spears on me and went and took that money over, which they did. They took me to court and took that money from me because they knew what I was going to do with it. And they knew I was either going to kill myself or blow every dime of it.
Thank God.
Yeah. I just want everybody to know that I'm never going to make fun of you for your addictions. I'm never going to make fun of you for your struggles. I on here, on this platform, yeah, I've made fun of people, we shit talk, but addiction and recovery means the world to me. So I'm never going to use that as a weapon towards any of you. And I thought Tracy knew me well enough to know that I would not do that to her.
Well, maybe she does now, or at least that's what we can hope for. You know,
Yeah.
we can't make anybody do anything or think any different, but we can try to live by example and continue to try to do the right things that maybe people will see us in a different light. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, I'm just grateful to be clean. You know, I was out driving this morning, and I guarantee you there's a lot of people out copping dope, and the roads are not easy to drive on.
No, it's actually really bad out, and the salt trucks or, you know, the street cleaners haven't been by to clean anything up yet.
So that means all the back roads and the side streets are a mess.
Oh, yeah. And you went out there for cigarettes.
I'm an addict. I'm addicted.
Yeah.
I don't have a choice.
I tried to talk you into using one of my vapes, but no, you just had to go.
I want that light crap. I want the real thing. Nah, yeah. I mean, it's just.
Look, did you see what Mac 11 Lynn said?
Oh, trust me. She needs French fries. She needs Penn Station French fries.
Oh,
I
are
should
you
have said
implying that you're going to get us Penn Station for dinner?
Why did I say that? That's $40, y'all.
Good, thank you. Winning.
Yeah,
I love Penn Station.
That does sound good, don't it?
Amanda, you guys got 11 inches?
Oh my God.
Wow.
Where at? Or what part? You don't have to say where, but what part of the world? Is she up north?
She's Midwestern.
Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, Deborah, and I know that she's dealing with that. I do. And I know that. And I'm sorry that she's going through what she's going through. But not everything I do pertains to her or is about her.
But some days we can all be like that, you know. We can all think it's about us. You know, I've done it too. You know, someone sends me a text and I read it the wrong way. I know all y'all can relate to that. I'll take some shit completely out of context and think they're talking about something else. Really, they were just trying to say, "Hey, man, how's your day going?"
Detroit, I absolutely agree. She says addiction and recovery is where I draw the line. That's off limits to me. I don't care how mad someone gets. It's a fine line you just do not cross. So
Yeah.
true.
It's my life. You know, when I was drinking and using, that was a lifestyle. I lived that way. Had you seen me walking down the street, you'd have been like, yeah, there goes one. It was very obvious, and that's who I was. As a person in recovery, I have to, you know, this is my life now. If I'd like to stay clean, you know, if I'd like to stay sober, there's certain things I got to do every day to maintain that. Doesn't always mean I go to a meeting every day. It doesn't mean I call my sponsor every day. But there are things I do on a daily basis to try to make sure that I'm not out copping dope this morning. You know, I'm not out worried about who do I got to get over on and manipulate so I can get some money, so I can get one more little pill or some whiskey or whatever your thing is, you know.
You know, with that meme, when Russell Brand says that trauma is the gateway, childhood abuse is the gateway, molestation is the gateway, neglect is a gateway, that really said something to me and made me think, oh my gosh, that's so true. That's why I posted it. It had nothing to do with anybody. Like Brandon said, I have never heard it put that way, you know, but it's so true. I had so much trauma in my childhood. There was so much abuse in my childhood. People just don't understand, you know. When I grew up, I tried to numb all of it because mentally I couldn't handle it. You know, I was suicidal. And I found something that made those thoughts slow down, and it was Xanax, you know. I found something that made the pain go away. And it worked for me for a while. until I got in trouble and started using heavier drugs, And I had to when I was in recovery, I had to start seeing a therapist to work out those problems from my past so I wouldn't continue using.
Yeah, the 12 steps don't always treat all of that.
Yeah.
You could tell a sponsor a million times what you went through. It doesn't always make it better for some people. The idea of telling another person and sharing with each other is now it's our problem. If I share something I went through, I'm not dealing with it alone anymore. It's our problem. We hold each other up through that. If I just keep my mouth shut and don't tell nobody, I'm alone with the disease. I'm alone with that gateway. And that's why it's so important to find somebody you can talk to. And it could be an anonymous person.
Is. If you don't talk about it, and if you continue holding some of those pains in, you're never going to find clarity. You have to talk about it so you can work through those emotions. Healing comes from within. And, if it wasn't for my therapist, I don't know what I'd have done, because there was things I never wanted to talk about. I wanted to keep them hidden in the closet because I didn't want anybody to know.
Yeah.
But once I told somebody about it and once we worked on it, I've been sober ever since.
And that's the amazing part. Usually telling one person cuts it in half.
Yeah.
And then eventually we tell another person and it cuts it in half again. And then we tell our support group, hey, I went through this. It's important for me to share this. And now it's ours. And the real goal, the real idea is, if I'm sharing that, maybe the person I'm sharing with has never talked about it. And finally, they can have their chance to say, wow, I'm not alone. That's when it becomes a tool to help other people.
Yeah.
I can tell you, we can all sit here and compare scars from childhood and life all we want. And some people's might look worse than others. I've had guys share stuff with me that in my mind, when they told me, I didn't understand it because it didn't seem like a big deal. They had an argument with their wife or issues at work. I didn't understand it, but it really affected them emotionally. And if it's not dealt with, they'll go back to the bottle. They'll go back to the dope. It's just a fact in this thing. I've seen it a million times. So just getting honest with somebody about where you're at, what you're going through. I just had an anniversary a couple weeks ago, so I've been reflecting on. Yeah, I've been reflecting a lot of the past, and it's incredible. I'm absolutely grateful to still be here, because a lot of people aren't. I went to treatment 5 times. That means I met a lot of people in rehab. Most of the people I was in rehab with are gone. They're not even in prison anymore. And for whatever reason, I get to be here. I try not to take that for granted, and I try to find a purpose in trying to help others if I can. And some days it just helps me, just talking about recovery, talking about how blessed I am just to still be breathing, let alone have an amazing wife, an amazing life, 6 amazing poodles.
They're rotten.
That stand on my chest at 4 a.m. and whine. 4 a.m, just standing there.
They're ready to get up. They're ready to go bark at the neighbors. Wake them up.
I thought it was 7. I really did. I thought it was 7, and I didn't have my glasses on, so I couldn't see my phone. And I just got up, like, oh, okay.
And Peachy,
4 a.m.
She says, I'm 53. I talk to a therapist weekly. It has literally saved my life. That is so true. Talking to someone is so beneficial, and it's nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah, I see a therapist every month, and the topic of discussion right now is eating. Trying to find a way to get restored to sanity in my second step, hopefully, with food. Who would have thought? I always thought my problem was booze and dope. I didn't know my problem was carbohydrates and cupcakes. But once again, and I don't realize it until I talk to somebody, just a symptom. The sugar and all that's just a symptom.
Yeah. CCK says, when I went to treatment, they said, look around, 9 out of 10 if you won't stay sober.
Yeah. That's about right. Yeah. Yeah, as sad as it is. I used to work in a facility that statewide had a 7% success rate. I think it was out of 24 people, out of 24, 7%. Thus, those were some of the best statistics in the entire state of Ohio.
Kathy rebuilds you right. She says, I care about you dearly, and I don't mean to contribute to any of your pain. Can you read the rest?
Sorry, I was getting a drink of water. I care about you dearly. I don't mean to contribute to any of your pain, but forgiveness on all parts, forgiveness for all our actions. Take time. How true. Sometimes we got to forgive ourselves and sometimes we got to forgive others, and both aren't easy.
There's a whole lot of pain going on in this community. And I care about a lot of people in this community, regardless of whose quote unquote side you're on. I still care about people. And it just sucks because everybody is fighting. There's a lot of doxing going on. People are calling cops on people. I mean, how much worse is it going to get? Fighting like this is not worth it, man.
In those situations, I was raised to believe in recovery, you have two options. So you can either forgive them or you owe them an amends. It's always one or the other, and every now and then it's both. So you either have to find a way to forgive the person or you owe them an amends. Hybrid. And by amends, I mean I go to them and I say, hey, look, what I said was rude, or I did this and I was a real jerk. I value our friendship more than that, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to balance the books and make this right. What can I do? That's really hard to do. I don't like doing that to people. I don't like admitting I'm wrong. But sometimes I have to if I want to have a clean conscience and a healthy heart. And by healthy heart, I mean I feel good. I feel love. I feel loved. It's up to the individual. How good do you want to feel in recovery? How well do you want to get? You can get as well as you want to.
Shannon says,
taking the action.
Recovery is hard because you have to deal with the issues that got you there. So true. And the damage you did while using. It's a battle, not a fight. That's why it's hard.
Yeah. And an uphill battle with that,
Yeah.
But we earned our chair. We earned our place in recovery. We all did. It's not, I don't care if you were addicted to maple flavored bacon or crystal meth. I don't care. Whatever your thing is and you're trying to get free of it and you'd like to stay free of it, there's some action involved. Because I don't want to be 6 years sober, 10 years sober, 20 years sober, still manipulating people like that lady said. I don't want to be doing that.
And not everyone does that. Not every addict does that. Not every addict continues to manipulate people. Maybe that's her experience with that person she was talking about or people she was talking about, but that's not every addict.
No, absolutely. The behavior must change. I must take action. That's the only way I know how to change my behavior, because I have to change my thinking ultimately. My thinking is connected to my behavior.
Mm-hmm.
The way I act and react to life without drugs and alcohol. It's not contingent on anyone. It's not contingent on my wife or what someone says online or what some guy on YouTube says about politics, or none of it. How do I act and react when no one's looking, when I don't have drugs and alcohol in my system? Now, that all gets easier with time and it gets better with time. But what work am I doing in between? That's the question I got to ask myself. What am I actually doing to try to get healthy and get better? Some days that's easy. I know exactly what I'm doing. Sometimes I'm doing very little. But I try. Every day I try. You know, if all I do today is just say my prayers, hopefully do a little meditation, so be it.
Hey, Sabrina. And you know, it's hard, you know, sometimes prayer is hard for me because sometimes I can't make my thoughts stop. And that's what I have a hard time with. I struggle. Lately, I've struggled like you wouldn't believe. And I don't know how to fix it, you know?
Yeah, the actions, you know, doing it, taking the action, even if it feels like it's not working. Sometimes I have to try things to see if they work because they might not work for me. I might have to pray a different way. I might have to meditate a different way. I might have to get a different kind of support in this or that area. I like what Deborah Groovy said about getting a second chance at life. You know, that's not promised to us. You know, not I can give you an entire side of my family who didn't get a single chance. They drank and used every day until they died. They didn't know any better. They didn't go to meetings. They didn't go to rehab. It's just what they did every day.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many chances I got. I kid you not. I used to pray in the back of a cop car, please, God, get me out of this one. I'll never do it again. And I would get out of it somehow. Now, I didn't hold up my end of the deal, so I'd end up in the back of a cop car again. But
I've
today,
said that too. I've said, God, just get me out of this jail cell. I'll never do drugs again.
I'll go to church. I'll go to school. I'll do whatever you want. Just, you know, foxhole prayer. Just please help me. But today I try to hold up my end of the bargain and try to be that person. You know.
Samantha asks you a question. Is it true that alcohol is harder to detox from opiates?
It's a lot more dangerous. Alcohol typically is the only addiction or the only detox that can kill you. Benzos sometimes, but usually you're just at a higher medical risk for seizure when detoxing off of benzos. But alcohol withdrawal is unbelievably dangerous. If you hear somebody died from detoxing, it's usually alcohol.
Yeah, and Xanax is actually, benzodiazepines are really hard to come off of also because, you know, you take the risk of having a seizure, what it can do to your brain. I think that benzos and alcohol are kind of the same when it comes, you know what I mean?
Well, they're both central nervous system depressants. I always told people Xanax is like a 6-pack in a pill. You know, it's a very similar in terms of what it does to the body. I know alcohol does worse. I don't know how or why, but I know it does worse things to your blood pressure when detoxing.
Oh,
and that's how a lot of people die.
Lord, detoxing from benzos was,
And
I don't have the experience with alcohol, so I cannot definitively say that. But I know in my situation, oh my gosh, that third day after not having a benzo in my system, I would start having these hellacious seizures. And that probably did a lot of brain damage too, because I would hit my head and you don't know what's going on inside your brain as you're having those seizures. You don't know what damage that's doing. Benzos are so unbelievably dangerous.
Oh, yeah. The devil. They're the absolute devil for me.
Oh, gosh. Detroit, you know, doing it cold turkey is so dangerous.
Oh, I bet you ended up in the hospital. Yeah, I did it. I did all of it, alcohol, benzos, and opiates in a suicide watch one time in a jail. And it was very interesting. It was a very interesting experience.
Yes, CCK.
I definitely wanted to die. I can tell you that much.
Oh.
If they'd have let me choose, I'd have picked death any day. I did not want to be here anymore, but God, angels, whatever, saw it fit for me to still be here and get through it. Yeah, I had a bone rattling detox back in 2008. My dry date isn't until 2009, but yeah, I had a big one in 08. It was April 1st, April Fool's Day, 2008. I'll never forget it. I don't think it does thing. It's just typically there's more sugar in beer. So you've got that sort of added to, and depending on how much beer they're drinking. So when someone consumes unbelievable amounts of sugar and then the sugar is no longer in their system, you had all sorts of other medical stuff that could happen. And it's about the same, I would think. Probably the worst one I saw a guy who had been drinking. I watched a guy detox with nothing. They offered him what's that? Oh God, not Quaalude, but it's like a Quaalude. I can't think of the name.
Barbiturate?
Yeah, it's a barbiturate. You know the one I'm talking about.
I sure do.
I watched a guy. They offered him that. He didn't take it, and I've never seen anybody that. Like, if you saw this guy sitting in a chair, you'd be like, that guy's going to die in a minute. And I think he did end up in the hospital. He seized and ended up in the hospital. I wasn't there for that, but.
Hybrid Pisces, yes. She says, my dad craves sugar like crazy since being sober. I do too, like chocolate.
Yeah.
I still crave chocolate. You know, like if I'm having some kind of thoughts or something, I start craving chocolate.
Where I come from, ice cream was the big thing. Once, people in the group, I got sober and they would always take you to eat ice cream. That was like their big thing. There's a few ice cream joints in around Dayton that, are open, depending on the season. But yeah, that's a huge one, just because of the amount of sugar.
Yeah. Well, we've been on here for about an hour. I want to thank all of you for being in here and supporting Brandon and I. And I absolutely adore you guys. And I really want to express again that I will never make fun of someone's addiction, their struggle when it comes to addiction, their recovery. That's not what I'm about. That's not who I am. Other people might do that, but Sarah doesn't, and Sarah won't. Now, when it comes to YouTube stuff, yeah, I might say a few things here and there, but I'll never go after someone for their addiction and or recovery.
And I just want to say I'm really grateful for you guys listening. Thank you so much for asking questions. It makes it so much easier to make it a conversation instead of just sitting here and me talking, because I feel like I'm just repeating myself over and over. But I really appreciate you guys listening and being involved.
Thank you, Shauna.
Please, if you know someone that's struggling, pass them on to someone. If you can't help them directly, pass them on to someone that can. There's a lot of people out there struggling right now. As we all know, 2020 was a beast. And people are trying to pick up the pieces, this first couple months of the year.
Thank you, Eric.
I'm just grateful I hit my bottom alive, because a lot of people didn't. I don't know why. I'm not in charge of any of that, but I'm grateful that I get to be here. I'm grateful for my family, my wife, children, dogs, snow on the ground. I'm just grateful. So thank you so much for listening and playing along. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you around. Hopefully the next stream will be a little better. But everybody have a great day. Call me Frenchie. I love you, darling. Wait, what does she say? Sarah, maybe Tracy doesn't know how you deal with it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still confused on how she would think that post had anything to do with her. I don't know. Okay, you guys, I'm going to jump off here. I hope you all have a great day, and thank you so much for hanging out. Bye. I love you, Bailey Vexed.